It's not over.
Stop the fight!
Default.
Everybody, I come here for everybody. Kill everybody. I'm the champ. I'm the king. Ah!
All right, guys, welcome back to Broke Bets. Lane here. Also got my guy Carson on the other side. What's up?
Yes, sir.
Just came off of the last UFC card, Holm versus Bueno Silva. Went 12 and 13 on our picks. A lot of favorites won, played in pretty well there. We'll recap some of our bets at the end of that, at the end of the video. So if you want to go see those, check those out. But let's get started on these picks. First fight, Jafel Filho. I never know if I'm going to say that name right. Versus Daniel Barez. I'm going to take Filho here. As I see this fight, I see that he's just more well-rounded. I think that ground game plays in well for him. Obviously having the good jiu-jitsu, and then in the stand-up, he's very patient with his striking. And if you watch Barez, this is a guy who's going to come out hot, look for a knockout, and come forward. And he leaves his chin up in the air. And Filho's left hook on the Contender Series is pretty money. And I think he could land something similar here and find a knockout. So I'm going to go second round knockout for Filho here. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think Filho will be a more well-rounded fighter here. His leg did get chewed up a little bit in that Contender Series fight. And Barez does have good leg kicks, so I could see that a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, Filho does have pretty good pressure. And in the striking, he was ending a lot of his combos with a kick.
Right.
But for Barez, he slowed down quite a bit in that Contender Series loss to Carlos Hernandez. And then since, he's had a 4-fight win streak, all with first-round knockouts. So I'd like to see how his cardio holds up if it gets out of the first round. So
right.
I like Filho to win.
In that grappling, too, he gives up a lot of bad positions with Carlos Hernandez. He would just get taken down and try to fly to get back up, give up some bad positions. And then, like you're saying with the gas tank thing, this guy's just trying to pressure from the first instant, the fight starting. I really wanted to play the under 2.5 in this fight, but it's set at 1.5 on BetUS right now, so I can't really... In my opinion, I can't really like sit with that one right now, because this lighter weight class, it's just kind of harder to hit that 1.5 marker. So I do think that Filho is also a good bet here as just a money line in my opinion. So yeah, give me Filho KO round 2. Okay, for the next fight we have Bruna Brazil versus Shauna Bannon. I'm taking Bruna Brazil here. That line number's coming down, looks a little bit better. She just got ran through by Denise Gomes, but Gomes just the same thing to Yasmin Howardy, and no problem there. That loss has aged slightly better now. Brazil's just very tall, and she's actually coming in to fight another fighter here, a woman's fighter that is similar in size and actually has a pretty long reach, which will be weird for her. But I see more athleticism on the side of Brazil, like especially cutting down range with the right hand, with the kicks. I think Shauna might have better volume, but she gets caught in some exchanges and can get caught in bottom position for long periods of time as well. So I think that Bruna can either win the grappling positions or the striking at range here in that big cage. Give me a Bruna decision. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm cool with that. For Bannon, she kind of telegraphed a lot of her kicks. She'd always switch stance and then throw the same body kick. And Bruna Brazil, she's long, lengthy. I think her kicks up the middle will be beneficial, and she just seems quicker in and out of range.
Right, her style, it reminds me exactly of Filho. She's got like the left hand out and the right hand down low, and it's just like setting up for the big right hand all the time, and that's kind of just her stance. So yeah, I'm gonna say that Brazil, she didn't look good in that last fight. She kept her chin up in the air, but when you're usually a tall girl, that's pretty common. So yeah, give me Brazil by decision. Okay, for the next fight we have Chris Duncan versus Yanal Ashmouz. In this one, taking Yanal, I just feel like Chris Duncan is so hittable, and he sits in the pocket, leaves his chin up in the air. It's been hit a lot of times, knocked out by Borishev, hurt by Charlie Campbell, hurt by Omar Morales before he just, slept the fight away for all the fans out there. We're going to take Yanal by a first-round knockout, but I do feel a little bit nervous about this one because, that Sam Patterson guy, that dude is cutting a lot of weight, super tall, and the given knockout that happened was like one of those knockouts you just see never happen. So, a little bit strange of a situation, but he does have good grappling, and really small, dense guy, strong. Probably be hard for Duncan to implement his grappling here. So, I think Yanal can find one of those heavy hooks and hurt Duncan. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think, like you said, Duncan's way too hittable, and Yanal is just super powerful and explosive, and I think he'll find the chin of Duncan. Duncan will, shoot after he's hurt, but I think Yanal has good defensive grappling to negate that and probably knock him out here in the first round.
Also a very explosive movement in that Sam Patterson fight. Caught the kick too directly to the left hook to the chin. It was just a very fast thing that happened. I bet the under 2.5 in that Omar Morales Duncan fight. I remember getting burned because they're going after it, swinging hard, and then it just became a clinch fight and a wrestling fight on the fence, and ended up sucking. So
after Duncan got cracked in the first round, he resorted to the wrestling in the second and third, and he just held up Omar on the cage for those 2 rounds. But I don't think I think Yanal has better grappling, so I think he should be able to negate that.
Right. All right. Yanal by knockout first round. Okay, for the next fight, we have Ketlen Vieira versus Pannie Kianzad. Taking the underdog here, taking Pannie Kianzad. This is an interesting matchup. Ketlen Vieira, I think she gained a lot of recognition after that Holly Holm fight. Just for pretty much, doing something where Holly Holm was just kind of stalling on the cage. And it looked better than maybe it actually was. And, Misha Tate, that fight, Misha Tate just no longer any good, or never really was that good. Losing to Yana Santos, these things just don't age that well. She's got pretty decent hands for a chick fighter, but she did slow down in some of these fights, especially that Holly Holm one with all that fence time. And she can get stalled out on the fence for a large majority of fights. And that's why I think Kianzad has a pretty good clinch game. She's got good elbows, good knees in the clinch, and she's strong, holding girls up near that fence. And I think that Kianzad can just stall positions here or outstrike Vieira to a decision. What are you thinking?
Yeah, definitely leaning towards a decision here. Kianzad doesn't have a finish since 2014. She's been finished a couple times by Chasson in 2018. But yeah, like you said, just in the clinch, I think she'll have her best work there. And I definitely see this fight going to decision.
Yeah, I might have to sprinkle this one, Kianzad by decision, just because it'll be plus 200, and odds makers always want to make these chick fights minus whoever, such a big minus number, and then they'll drop the ball. So it's just never consistent. So yeah, give me the clinch work, the common WMMA winning tactic. Kianzad by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Bryan Barberena versus Makmud Muradov. Taking Makmud Muradov here. Bryan Barberena could make this fight very competitive, but it's just hard to see that at 185 pounds. He's not the biggest 170er as is, and going to 185, fighting one of the heavier hitters from 185, it's going to be an uphill battle for him. The way he's going to win is wearing down on Muradov, Muradov over-swinging on his punches, and Barberena going full zombie mode and running at him and eating all the punches. So it's hard to say, though, with that weight difference, that size difference. I think that Makmud will probably get a knockout in the second round just from accumulation of damage and maybe one big punch. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I like Makmud here as well. Yeah, just accumulation of damage. I think Barberena is pretty tough, but I think over time, I think that damage will add up. Makmud has a pretty good jab, so I think he'll be able to just throw that out there and bloody his nose, probably, Barberena, and move in and out of range pretty quickly.
It's also a strange thing when, like, Barberena's been getting controlled by grapplers pretty commonly, and instead of making, like, typically you move down a weight class when you're trying to get away from people who are holding you down too easily, but instead he's going up a weight class. Makmud's not a grappler, but with how big he's going to be, it should be very easy for him to use grappling to control Bryan, I think, still. So, interesting what the face-offs look like. I think it's going to be an important detail. If Barberena sizes up actually pretty well, this could be an interesting fight, but if Makmud's going to be towering over him, it could be a bad. So, yeah. Any more thoughts here?
No.
All right. Makmud KO round 2. Okay, for the next fight, we have Mick Parkin versus Jamal Pogues. Taking Jamal here. What a shit fight. Jamal, what I really don't like about his game, feels funny to say that about a person you just picked, but he doesn't ever like want to go for it. He's not going for knockouts. Like, he got signed onto the UFC as kind of a sympathy signing because he was talking about family issues and I think his mom having cancer or something. But, he just like strikes, jabs you at range, doesn't really do much, and then occasionally goes for a takedown, but he slows down a little bit. Mick Parkin, absolute shitty Contender Series fight. Totally should not. Heavyweights probably could be like, they gotta average the least fights before they get into the UFC. Look at the opponent's records from Mick Parkin. He's got one opponent with an even record that he faced before he went on the Contender Series. And in the Contender Series fight, left himself in bottom position multiple times, sloppiness, and the only thing that he's got going for him is I think he will want it more than Pogues, and if Pogues slows down, there's a chance that Parkin could come back in this fight, but I'm going to take Pogues by decision. That's how I see this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pogues can wear down Parkin. Yeah, like you said, Pogue will shoot that double leg, and I think if he does that a couple times each round, I think he'll be wearing down Parkin, and Parkin will slow down. Parkin has only seen the second round twice, has never seen a third, so I like Pogue to wear down Parkin.
This is a bad fight, I think, to bet on any part of. Don't bet either person. Don't bet the over or the under. Like,
oh, yeah. What are you doing if you're betting on this fight?
It's like, well, if Jamal's going to win, it's probably going to be the over. And if Parkin's going to win, it's probably going to be the under. So just stay away from everything, yeah. Like I said, like 6 professional fights, just not a great sign. And Pogues is not going to be that fun to watch either. Anyway, Pogues by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Marc Diakiese versus Joel Alvarez. Taking Alvarez here by a submission. It's just, this guy puts so much pressure on fights, and the greatest example of it is the Thiago Moises fight. On the front foot, on the pressure, and he's just going to force you into a bad situation. And I think you're either going to shoot a takedown on this guy, or you're going to fold under the pressure. And in this case, Diakiese will probably shoot a takedown and get caught in a guillotine, because that's happened before. And Joel's just looked good, man. This guy's got a style, just like Charles Oliveira, to be honest. It's a lot of knees, a lot of forward pressure, and just like throwing everything in the kitchen sink at you. It's just, he's just coming forward, and he's coming to take your head off. And obviously a lot of finishes on his record, and I think that he keeps that up here, but Diakiese is hard to put away, so we'll see. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Alvarez he's a finisher. He's fun to watch too. He's super long, lengthy. He's 6'3", and 77-inch reach. Yeah, I think he'll be pressuring Diakiese, and I think he'll hurt him, and then Diakiese will shoot a takedown, bad takedown, and Alvarez could latch up a guillotine there. Yeah, I mean, I just think Diakiese is pretty mid, and he's got one way of winning recently, and that's by laying on his opponent. So.
Yeah, wrestling non-wrestlers. And then he also, like, in the striking, he's just kind of low volume. He throws, like, one big punch, and that was just the story of the Michael Johnson fight. He couldn't touch the dude, and really had nothing going for him in that fight.
Yeah, he didn't really throw any combos in that fight. It was just one and done.
Alvarez is also so big that it's going to be hard for many lightweights to compete with this guy, just with how fucking huge he is. So, and if you watch the guillotines this guy pulls, he squeezes like there's not going to be a round 2 or 3. He just squeezes like it's going to end right now. So,
yeah, I mean, Alvarez has only been to one decision, and that was a decision lost against Damir Ismagulov. So,
right. And Demir's a decision machine,
everybody.
Too. So,
right.
Were you going to say something earlier?
No.
Yeah, that's all I really got for this one. I'm debating still on betting Alvarez. Probably will just play his money line if I did, and probably wouldn't parlay him. There isn't many great parlay options, but yeah, give me Alvarez submission round 1. Okay, for the next fight, we have Danny Roberts versus Johnny Parsons. A lot of pick'ems on this card, but at least the pick'ems will be hopefully fun fights here. Danny Roberts, no bueno in my opinion. You're gonna pick Johnny Parsons. I never thought that Danny Roberts is that good. You know, this guy's gonna look physically a lot better than Johnny Parsons, but Parsons brings that Muay Thai style of kicking into this fight, and Danny Roberts just doesn't offer much. Like, he's not really good boxer, not really good kicker, not particularly a great wrestler either. Decent takedown defense, I suppose, and doesn't take damage well. So I can't really take Danny Roberts here. I'm gonna take Johnny Parsons by decision. I think that he can just kick at range, and he held up really well against Solomon Renfro on his Contender Series fight. He ate some big punches. I don't think Danny Roberts can hit that hard anymore. And I think Johnny Parsons can take this one. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I mean, Parsons is pretty tough, durable. He showed that in, like you said, his last fight, Contender Series fight. But he's been out for 2 years now since then. So not sure what he's been up to. But yeah, I mean, Roberts just is not that good. Of his last 7 losses, he's been finished in 6 of them. So, like you said, doesn't take damage very well.
Right.
I think Parsons, I don't know if he finishes them, though. But yeah, I think he'll be doing a lot more damage. Visible damage.
It'd be hard because he's shorter, so it's hard to cut down that range and then that big cage as well. But good kicks.
Yeah, he's like short and stocky. He's got like a soft chest.
Kelvin Gastelum kind of build.
Yeah.
Not quite as wide. But I do think that the kicks and like cutting down the distance, he does have some heavy punches. That KO could still be live, but yeah, I think that some of these Brits they have on the card are just not the best. So we'll stick with Johnny Parsons by decision here. Okay, for the next fight we have Davey Grant versus Daniel Marcos. I think with the collection of factors of age, defense, and I guess just striking in general, I like Daniel Marcos right here. Davey Grant, though, his style is very unique. He's blasting everything as hard as he can every time he's fighting. He's going pretty much left hook, right hook combo constantly, switching his stance to get that combo, like he knocked out Jonathan Martinez with. But this guy also can take a punch very well. He's gotten hit, obviously, by some great punchers. However, I feel like he overswings himself and slows himself down, and that was super apparent in the Louis Schmokel fight. He also was trailing in his last fight before that, like, submission of the year. Daniel Marcos just impressed me so much in his Contender Series fight and in his most recent one. Super patient, low calf kicks looked great. The defensive striking looked great. The takedown defense looks great. I think that he wins a decision here. I think he's a great fighter. What are you thinking?
Yep, I like him a lot here as well. Grant, I mean, he's just like a savvy veteran. Tough to figure out though. When he's throwing those hooks, I mean, you said he's over swinging. He like throws those like so wide.
Right.
I think Marcos can time those and just throw straights up the middle. Marcos does a really good job working the body as well. In his last fight, that's what he was hurting.
Knees. Step in knees on Oliveira.
Yeah, with the knees and the clinch as well. Good defensive grappling as well too. So I really like what I saw from Marcos. So
I think it was something I saw from Davey Grant too that the Schmolka figured out when he fought him was Schmolka would just literally go high guard. And I know that Davey likes to rip the body too, but he just put up that shell and he can just literally hammer block towards whatever way the hook is coming in. And then Marcos, this guy also, I just love how technically, like, he does all the basics phenomenally well in the stand-up. He's not spinning like crazy or anything weird. Like, if you watch the Simon Oliveira fight, Oliveira's spinning, throwing flying knees, just stupid actions. And then Marcos is just timing him. So this will be a very close fight, though. Very fun fight. I bet the over already. I just feel like Davey Grant's so durable, unlikely that he'll get finished. And then I feel like that Marcos is very sound defensively and will also get finished.
Davey Grant's never been knocked out. He's been choked out a couple times, but he's never been knocked out.
Right. Yeah. Daniel Marcos by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Lerone Murphy versus Joshua Culibao. Taking Joshua Culibao, every time they give you this guy a dog price, I just feel like it's just phenomenal. He's just a very quality fighter. He's got a super well-rounded game, great ground game, good stand-up in and out of range, really good defensively, and has some some decent power too. Lerone Murphy, known as a power puncher, he won a robbery decision in his last fight. I bet on him too, so I thought he lost, and then I got my money somehow. I just feel like he's a little bit slow. Murphy is a little bit slow with his punch. He's, a heavy puncher, but it takes a little bit for that punch to get there. And I think that Culibao is just so in and out of range, it's going to be hard for Murphy to catch him. And if there's a chance this fight goes to the ground, I don't think Culibao actually can get in the takedowns. He hasn't really shown that he's great at it in takedowns. But if there's something similar to even that Bardasarian fight, if there's a slip and fall, and Culibao hops on top, there's a really big chance he could finish the fight from a submission as well. So, yeah, I like Joshua Culibao here. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, Culibao definitely took advantage of that slip against Bardasarian. He was probably losing that first round. And then Bardasarian fell or whatever, and he got that rear naked choke in right away and tapped him out. But yeah, I mean, he's super well-rounded. People keep sleeping on him. I mean, maybe it's because he doesn't look like a fighter.
He's like a soft-body guy, yeah.
Yeah, he's a little chunky. But yeah, I mean, he's just super well-rounded. I like what I've seen from him so far. So I think this will be a really good fight. It's
just one of those guys that people underestimate due to body type. I mean, we just watched Jun Park. People underestimate him because he's a little bit softer, and then, he just destroys Adarayev. So, I also just think he's just faced good competition, and even in the fights where he's faced good competition, he's looked great. So, I like that about him, and, yeah, I think that he can, and if you're just going to give me a price tag of plus money, and what I know is going to be a very close fight, give me the plus price tag, and I think I can win off of it. So, hopefully he doesn't get robbed. And we'll see. Culibao.
Yeah, they are in London, so.
Yeah, Paddy, Pimblett, and those decisions, yikes. We'll see. Josh Culibao by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Jai Herbert versus Ferris CM. Man, another like 50-50 matchup. I'm going to take Jai Herbert here in a split decision win against Ferris CM. I just feel like both these guys, and I've talked about this before, they're both guys who are super reliant on their size and range for the way they win fights. And when they both face someone very similar in size and style, it just makes these fights that are really hard for them to control. Ferris, super improved performance versus Figlak, looked good with the grappling, but was even a little hesitant in his striking at times when he had such a range advantage. And I think Jai can show maybe a little bit more footwork in the boxing when it comes down to the boxing, and work his way to win that decision barely. But this is going to be a close one. Two tall guys striking at range. That's just how I see it. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they both have super long reaches and use their length in this weight class here. I think Ziam used his grappling in his last fight really well. He just like kind of out-muscled Figlak.
Right.
Wasn't really like technical, but he just out-muscled him really. I think Herbert can use a lot of elbows in the clinch here, and yeah, I think, like you said, another really close decision.
Yeah, I also feel like Ferris, there's a chance he might try to go to the grappling, just because he had more success with it in his last fight, but Jai's pretty good at not just staying on his back, so I don't really see too much control time one way or the other, so yeah. Give me a decision here, Jai Herbert. Okay, for the next fight, we have Andre Muniz versus Paul Craig. Taking Andre Muniz here, I just think Paul Craig, already a slow guy at 205, coming down to 185, where speed is going to be more important to have here. And Andre Muniz, although he got submitted by Brendan Allen, and he's a jiu-jitsu guy, obviously he's not the best look. He did look very good in the striking for a majority of that fight. And Paul Craig, as we know, isn't really like a guy who gets takedowns that well. He's more of a guy who pulls you into his guard. And I think that Andre just works him on the feet. This weight cut probably a little bit rougher for Paul Craig. He's got to lose some muscle to get down to this. So, yeah, give me Andre Muniz. I think he's going to get a knockout. I think that he's going to touch that chin, and Paul's just might not be the same anymore. So, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see what he looks like on the scales, or if he even makes it to the scales. I don't know how he'll be able to make this weight. But yeah, I mean, if he does make the weight, I mean, his chin's probably not going to be as good cutting all that weight. So I definitely see Muniz with the better striking. I think the grappling can probably negate itself, and Muniz can probably piece him up on the feet.
Yeah, I checked out his Instagram like a little bit ago, and just he looks smaller and just like obviously less muscle. Like I was saying, like I just feel like he's just not gonna have that speed. He's already a guy who just kind of moves like a sloth with the grappling and is just very strong. So, if this fight does go to the ground, I do think Paul Craig gets the better Muniz. I think that Muniz has been struggling with some of the jiu-jitsu stuff. With someone like Brendan Allen, but also couldn't sub Uriah Hall in some positions as well. So Paul Craig could give him some problems down there. However, I think Andre Muniz will stay ahead. Maybe do a little Johnny Walker action, slap Paul Craig on the side of the head with a single leg attempt. We'll see. Muniz KO round 1. Okay, for the next fight, we have Nathaniel Wood versus Andre Fili. Great matchup here. Always been a fan of both these guys. Gonna take Nathaniel Wood, though. Andre Fili, really solid fighter. Has a good ground game, has good power in the stand-up. Other than getting touched by Joe Anderson Brito, has had a decent run for a while. Nathaniel Wood, though, I feel like with this guy, we're seeing like a evolutionary, like he's just improving every fight. He's has a super high fight IQ, but if you go back and you watch the fight he had with Casey Kenny, and then you watch the Charles Rosa fight, and then you watch the Jourdain fight, you just see a huge amount of improvement. The range and the size is a little bit of a concern in this fight, but with the trips that Wood's been hitting and the speed that he has at this division, I think that he's still going to pull this one off. So, yeah, give me Wood by decision again.
Yeah, I think the thing that stuck out against the fight, Wood against Jourdain, was the size. Wood looked pretty small for this weight class, or at least in that matchup, and he'll be at a similar disadvantage here in this fight too. But he did a really good job getting on the inside with the high guard, and you could see it in that last fight. He definitely had the speed advantage, and he was putting together some really nice combos. And he doesn't just go one for one. I mean, he's throwing combos, so that's what I really like about him.
Right, Feely sometimes too can he can just kind of throw out one punch, like just a one big punch at a time, and at times that can leave him open just for counters. And Nathaniel Wood might just outvolume him in certain instances. Also, we're in England. Take that into consideration for a scorecard. So yeah, that's all I'm thinking for this one. Nathaniel Wood by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Molly McCann versus Julia Storolenko, taking Molly McCann. However, I feel like there's a high probability this fight gets canceled. Storolenko's had problems making 135. I have no idea how she's looking right now. Maybe I gotta check out the Insta, see if she's actually in shape. But this girl's not making 135, coming down to 125, and I don't know, she might just pass out on the scales, who knows. This fight goes one of two ways. It's either a first-round armbar for Storolenko, or it's a knockout for Molly McCann after Storolenko gasses herself from that. And I think McCann just gets a knockout here. Storolenko is just first round or bust. That's just her motto. And I mean, pretty evident in that Jessica Rose Clark fight, and then coming to the Chelsea Chandler fight. Got Chelsea Chandler right to the ground, right in submission territory, and then fucking flubbed it. So, yeah, I'm thinking McCann. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I like McCann here as well. I mean, seems like a favorable matchup for the Brit. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, like you said, dude, I don't know how Storolenko is going to make this weight. I was just browsing Tapology, and I didn't find a single one of her fights where she was at 125, even back in the day. So
right, and I think she's had two. I think she had 2 or 3 weight misses at 135. So I don't know, and it's like, yeah, her previous one missed weight. I just don't understand. I mean, it's kind of goofy that McCann's nickname is Meatball, considering Storolenko will probably be eating meatballs right before she gets on the scales. I don't know. This is going to be... It's a fight that doesn't need to be a co-main event, but obviously it will, just because they'll try to get Molly a knockout here and then hype up the crowd for the main event. And then maybe it'll be cool. I mean, you have to give her credit for some of her knockouts, even though some people like to trash her. I mean, obviously the Luana Carolina one was cool, but the Hannah Goldie one was really cool too. So not the best fighters, either of those two, but good knockouts still. Anything else you got here?
Yeah, I mean, I like Molly McCann inside the distance. Storolenko's getting finished quite a bit, so.
And on that weight cut,
especially making that weight cut. I don't know how well she'll be able to take punches.
Also, Molly's just she's going to the crowd's energy. So if the crowd's pumping her up, she burned herself out in that Luana Carolina fight trying to go for a finish in the first round. So, yeah. Molly McCann, KO, round 2. Okay, for the final fight, guys, we got Tom Aspinall versus Marcin Tybura. Guys, please hit that like, drop a sub on the channel. We're continuing to grow, working our way towards that 1,000 marker. And, yeah, main event, taking, obviously, Tom Aspinall, who in the fuck wouldn't. We both use BetUS right now for, our common sports book. And, they dropped the over-under this Sunday when we're recording this, for the Aspinall fight, and it was at under 1.5 was plus 140, and just absolutely hammered that line for 2 units. Beat a lot of line movement there, and then BetUS changed it to minus 145 already, so I feel like we got a big steal. Tom Aspinall is a first-round fighter. I mean, like, nothing really tells me that he's going to come out and change his game plan. This guy ran right through Volkov, and then the Curtis Blades fight, came out, instantly was in Curtis Blades' face, who most fighters in the heavyweight division keep space from for that takedown. So I think Tom comes out hot, and he comes out for a knockout. And if not, I think that submission's also live. This guy's an athlete. So what are you thinking here?
Yeah, I really like Aspinall. I think he can maybe become a future champ. I just think if Romanov can get you down in the first round and nearly get you out of there in the first, I think Aspinall, who's 10 times better than Romanov, will be able to do the same. So give me Aspinall, all of his fights, and then the first round pretty much. So I really like him to get it done in 1.
Yeah, I mean, that knee thing it's rough, because, like, I don't know how great he's going to look, but you got to assume everything's going to be okay. Tybura has always kind of made his career, I feel like, on being, like, a tough guy. Like, he's not phenomenal anywhere, but he's pretty well-rounded and has a decent gas tank, and that's how he survives a lot of his fights. With Big Tom, though, it's going to be pretty tough for him, I think, to run through it. The interesting part, if we do go over 1.5, is just obviously what Tom Aspinall's full gas tank looks like. We'll just have to see. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but we'll have to see. And then hopefully we do Tom Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich after this. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this fight just seems like a fight to get Aspinall back in the win column, coming off that leg injury. So.
Right. Any other special details you want to talk about with this one?
No.
All right, fair enough. Tom Aspinall by KO first round. All right, guys, for the bets, ended up going negative 0.25 units in a shitty way. Started the first straight bet with Bogdasarian, who, in my eyes, should have gotten credited with all 3 rounds, because Tucker Lutz just stalled out round 1, hugging the legs, and that's honestly sometimes questionable if that position should just be broken up. He just really didn't do anything there, and I think Bogdasarian was the only one trying to implement damage, and yeah. Moving down further, Valdez versus Elder. Knew this fight would be 2 guys kind of throwing heavy punches, but they'd make it through. Elder's gone over quite a few times, and boom, it happened. But it did have its scares. I mean, it was probably the fight of the night for me, and there was like 2 knockdowns or 3 knockdowns in the first round and a half, but I made it to a decision too. So
yeah, I definitely sweated out the 7.5 minutes there.
Our Azatar and Prado under 1.5 hit pretty easily. Prado did what he did. He just came forward, and Azatar left himself a little open at times. I thought the stoppage was fine. Some people complained. I didn't. Further down, Jack Della played the under 1.5. Hafez, big dude, and Jack couldn't get that like flush punch on him, although he just made a lot of also bad IQ grappling decisions, pulling guillotines, and just sticking with the Hafez in the grappling. And then obviously went over, and it didn't go my way, but it's all right. Further down, the bet that ruined a lot of units for me tonight, or for us, starting with the Albert Duraev Junyoung Park fight for the over 2.5 rounds. I really was banking on that one to happen. Duraev just doesn't know how to pace a fight. He pulled an Abu Smagomedov. He came out and he like wanted to beat the shit out of Park, and then Park just played the fucking the turtle versus the hare and well, Iron Turtle versus the hare, and destroyed him. So
yeah, Park looked dominant in that too.
let me just show for the changes what the numbers would look like here if that fight would have gone over. Oops, not 33 units. That'd have been a 4-unit night just off of that difference. So that's a tough loss to take. The Terrence McKinney under, though, no surprise there. I don't think for anyone. Munoz, Deaton over, nothing crazy. There were some bigger punches, and it was just a parlay killer. I've been on a roll of parlay killers, and then in the long shot plays, it's all just one thing beating me. So it's the way she goes. You know, we got 12 fights right. I think a lot of people did really well overall for picks on this card. Although it is hilarious that the night that we get 12 fights right, we don't parlay any people, and then we only play one money line. It's just kind of a little bit of trolling from the MMA gods. And happy that Mayra Bueno Silva won, because Holly Holm pisses me off with her cage control. So, any other things you want to talk about?
Yeah, you think the judges got the Jack Della Maddalena decision right?
I did. I think that the damage should be scored over the control time.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's the same thing I'm talking about with the Tucker Lutz thing. I try to stay consistent with my scoring. It's just like, you know, I don't see how hugging legs or laying in top control. It's a dominant position, but it's not the first scoring criteria. You know, got to nail that down, and it is a little bit weird. I think some judges don't all follow the same criteria. They kind of pick and choose. So, I also thought the last round was a 10-8 for Jack. I'm kind of surprised it wasn't a 10-8. There was a lot of big punches and finishing sequence moments. So, anyway.
Yeah.
That was the card. Hoping to turn it around. Like I said, 3 total minutes from a fucking 4-unit card, and that's a little bit rough. However, we'll turn it around. Still positive on the year. Still doing good. Anything else you want to say?
We'll bounce back this week.
Just can't get fucked over on that Aspinall under where we beat all that line movement. So
right.
All right. Peace.
Peace.
I know. It doesn't matter from the trenches. I'm built like this. Don't doubt me, I couldn't do it. The odds that I couldn't do it. Look at me now.